Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Saturday. I have a lot to do and we are going to have a productive day. I wanted to bring you along with me so we can talk about motivation and trying new things. People ask all the time how I get everything done. How in the world do I roast coffee, make pasta, make bread, tortillas, cook from scratch for my family with everything else that I have going on? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. First, let's admire these 18 quarts of home canned turkey and chicken stock. This is left over from Thanksgiving weekend. I put the carcasses in the Instant Pot for 2 hours on high pressure, strained off the bones and skin, and then pressure canned them for 25 minutes. My family usually goes through 3 to 4 quarts per meal when we have soup, so this will be a wonderful addition to the pantry. The next thing on my list was to wrap the presents that had come in the mail so far. I don't know about you, but with technology today and ordering the majority of our Christmas presents online, I often let the boxes pile up before I take time to wrap everything and put them under the tree. I am resolving this year to not wait and simply wrap as it arrives so I'm not left with a ton to wrap all on Christmas Eve. The next thing I wanted to do was soak some white beans so that I could pressure can some and get them back on the pantry shelf. My beans are running a bit low and it's really convenient to have, especially this time of year, to make things like white chicken chili. My husband loves white beans with ham and maybe some cornbread. That makes a really convenient meal, especially when you've got meat on the pantry shelf and cooked beans already there that you have canned on a previous occasion. So white beans are super easy. They're a nice, soft, easily digestible bean compared to things like kidney beans or black beans. So I'm just going to soak these and then I will pressure can them and they will cook as they pressure can. The rest of our weekend was going to be really busy, so I decided not to bother with overnight soaking, and I did like a quick soak where you boil the beans for about an hour straight, and then they're ready to go in the pressure canner, and it has about the same effect as soaking them, especially since I'm going to end up pressure canning these and they're going to sit on my pantry shelf. I will pressure can these at 10 pounds pressure for an hour and a half since I'm doing quarts. Unfortunately, I only ended up getting 4 quarts out of these 2 pounds of beans, but this will make at least 2 meals for my family, maybe a little bit of leftovers, but I'm glad to put them in the pantry. Next, I am going to try my hand at sourdough pasta for the first time ever. I finally got a sourdough starter going again. I wrote down Ruth Ann Zimmerman's recipe from Instagram, and I will include that in the description box below. If you are on Instagram, I would highly suggest you follow Ruth Ann. She is a wealth of knowledge and encouragement, amazing recipes, and beautiful stories each day from her homestead. She also has a highlight bubble for recipes where you can find her apple cake with vanilla glaze, this sourdough pasta, and dozens of other recipes. Here you can see I am feeding my sourdough starter with another half a cup of freshly ground whole wheat flour and a 1/4 cup of filtered water from our Berkey. I give it a quick stir to combine the new water and whole wheat flour, and then I cover it with a cloth napkin and just the ring of a mason jar. This allows oxygen to still reach your starter without the risk of bugs getting in as well. Now I'm going to add the egg yolks to my starter and mix that really well before putting it in the mixing bowl. Then I am going to wash this bowl and use it to measure out my flour, which I will also do in grams since that is how the recipe is written. I went ahead and used the remainder of my freshly ground whole wheat flour, and then I topped off how much I needed with regular all-purpose flour. I added the salt that it called for, and then I mixed all of it together in the mixer. Now, with pasta, you just want it to come together in a nice, smooth dough ball, and then you're going to let that rest for about 30 minutes before you press it out into your pasta machine or roll it out by hand. Now, I will say at this point, I got a little chicken, and I was afraid that if I just introduced straight sourdough pasta to my family, it might be too much of a difference in the flavor. So I decided to introduce them to it gently by mixing the sourdough pasta dough with some regular homemade pasta dough. So this right here that you're seeing is just oil, flour, salt, and eggs. And then I am going to incorporate the sourdough pasta dough into this one. Sometimes I find that if I ease my family into things, they're much more open-minded about it, especially my pickier or younger children. And we will try a little bit more sourdough to a little less regular pasta dough on the next go round. But this was a really big hit. So I just added chunks of the sourdough to the regular dough, and now I am kneading it together before I let it rest. I have found that if I introduce something new to my family and several people don't like it, it's very unlikely that they're going to be willing to try it again and give it another chance, even if I prepare it differently, because they've already made up their mind. So that is how I came to the decision to mix equal parts of sourdough, pasta dough, and regular homemade pasta dough. It's now soft and smooth and not sticky at all, so I'm wrapping it in plastic and I'm going to let it rest on the counter while I prepare to roll it out. This is a vintage linen tablecloth that I have always used to dry my pasta on. It's just about big enough for 2 pounds of pasta dough, which is what I've got going today. Now, I did have some little helpers that helped me roll this out with my pasta machine. If you've never watched one of my pasta videos before, I got this hand crank machine at TJ Maxx or Ross many years ago, like probably 10 years ago. For $15 or $20, it was a great find. It's a completely simple machine. It will make spaghetti noodles and fettuccine noodles. Now, if you don't use the slicer attachment that you see above, then you can just use what you see here on this tablecloth as lasagna noodles. We're going to let these dry for about 30 minutes before we run them through the fettuccine cutter. That allows them to dry a little bit and stiffen up so that it's not a sticky mess when you run them through the attachment. Okay, let's talk about habits. Some of you watch my videos or channels like mine and think, wow, I don't know how she gets it all done, or I wish I could do some of the things that she does for her family. And I just want to encourage you by telling you and reminding you that these are just habits that I have built over time. I started making my family's bread many, many years ago when I only had 3 children, not 8. I wasn't working. And it became an easy habit that I didn't have to think about, to the point where even now, with a much busier schedule, I already know how much time it takes to make bread. So I just allow myself that time. I also delegate help from my children, and it's become an easy habit. It also saves time and money because I don't have to run to the store every time we're out of bread. I would also encourage you to not be intimidated by any of the things that I do or that you see other people do on YouTube. YouTube is such a fantastic tool where you can find visual step-by-step instructions for things that may be intimidating if you were to only see the instructions on paper. Another thing that I would highly suggest is to look at your day, look at your schedule and your day-to-day rhythm, and see where there are areas that you could eliminate distraction and wasted time. I can tell you right now that I can fall down a black hole on Instagram or YouTube very easily, and I have to be careful of that because there are so many things I can get done in little 15 and 20-minute increments if I am intentional with my time. With our homemade sourdough pasta, we made chicken fettuccine alfredo, and we threw in some crushed up frozen spinach. Of course, it wasn't frozen when we ate it, but it was delicious, a huge hit, and we will definitely be making this sourdough pasta again. Thanks for watching.